بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى صحبه وآله ومن والاه. So inshallah, today, because it's a short day, we start our session inshallah by recitation of Al-Fatiha inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين آمين. So بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه ومن تبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. So today inshallah we have our honorable guest. He's not a foreigner, he's UIA already. He was in UIA, Dr. Mohammed Farid Ali Al-Fijawi. Al-Fijawi, because he's from Fiji, that's why Fijawi. Yeah, he was here in IIUM, working in the Department of Fiqh and Usul al-Fiqh for some time, and also in the Department of Fundamental Interdisciplinary Studies from 2013 up to this year, 2022. He was also head of research at the Kuliya IRK. We just summarize it in IRK. It's a long name. It has a long name now. Abu Sulaiman, Ahmed Abu Sulaiman, Kuliya of Revealed Knowledge, and that's long name. Since 19 up to 2021, I think. Yeah, that's for head of research. Recently, he's Ulul Albab Islamic Institute, New Zealand, in New Zealand. I think that University of New Zealand, or in the university there, or just an institute separately?
Institute is, we are starting a tertiary institute.
Yeah. So good. He's a CAO for that institute. He has the latest book actually in IIUM published by IIUM Press, the 40 Hadith on Leading the Way. That's following the IIUM. So today's talk, without further ado, I will tell about today's talk will be supervision and adab of learning. That's what we need in our university, supervision and adab of learning, in the light of Imam al-Mawardi, Adabul Ilm, or Adabul Ilm, or Adabul Ilm. I think Adabul Adab or Adabul Ilm. You can correct me, please.
Yes, Adabul Ilm.
Adabul Ilm, yeah, Barakallah Feek. So, inshallah, without further ado, I just give the mic because we allow him to talk about 40 or to 45 minutes, and we give about maybe 15 to 20 minutes for Q&A session or final discussion or any comments, inshallah. The floor is yours, brother. Barakallah feek. Tafaddal.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmadu nusalli ala rasulihil kareem, amma ba'd. And then Juma Mubarak to everyone. And it is the Ra'isul Ayyam, the Sayyidul Ayyam today, Jum'ah. In New Zealand, we already prayed our Jum'ah, and in Malaysia, you are going to pray today, inshallah, soon. It's a good culture in IIUM that you have all this halaqah also on the Jum'ah day, before the Jum'ah, after the Jum'ah. So today I am going to talk about supervision and adab of learning in the light of Imam Mawardi's Adabul Ilm. Basically, most of the part in the starting will be talking about the adab of ilm, and then we are going to correlate some of the points with supervision and with the supervisees. Upfront, I will say that, of course, all the supervisors and the supervisees, they know that CPS, Center for Postgraduate Studies, they do have a manual and guidebook for supervising students and for supervisees, right? So, but as someone from IIUM, someone from Islamic University, that makes a big difference. That someone who is a supervisor in International Islamic University or any Islamic tertiary institution, that makes a difference. And also goes to the students as well. If a student is in a normal university, they do have their own guidelines for writing thesis and how to do their research. But adding on top of that, when you are a student of IIUM or any other Islamic institution, then what is expected from both of these parties, right? So let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so today's discussion is based on Imam Mawardi, Abul Hasan Al-Mawardi, and he died in 450 Hijri. We are talking about a scholar who is before Imam Ghazali, rahmullahu ta'ala anhu, and as you can see, he is in Latin. He is known as Al-Buasen, and he was a Shafi from Shafi legal school, and he was in the Abbasid Baghdad, and his family were doing the business of rose water. So it is a combination of two words, Ma and Ward. Ma is water and Ward is rose. So Mawardi. So this is their family name, because their family were involved in rose water business. So he served Abbasid as the Qadi al-Qudat. The term is Qadi al-Qudat. He served as the chief judge of Nishapur district in Iran and also in Baghdad. And he is known normally in the scholarly world. Imam Mawardi is known because of his al-Ahkam as-Sultaniya, the ordinances of government, and people normally in political science, in the Kuliya or in the department of political science, they do discuss and talk a lot about Ahkam as-Sultaniya. But and he is also considered as one of the first Islamic political scientists to provide that type of guidelines and policies about governance. He is considered as one of the first, the father of Islamic political science. So, and he became famous because of this Al-Ahkam al-Sultaniya, because Ahkam al-Sultaniya provided solution. Because in his time period, there was a turmoil between Abbasid Caliphs and the Buid Amirs. All right, so normally Buid Amirs were coming from the Shia school, and the Abbasid Caliphs were, of course, Al-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and they always had this type of conflict in terms of who is going to become, who had the authority to become the leader. Right, so Imam Mawardi's book, Ahkam as-Sultaniya, provided a solution to this type of issues. So he was relevant, right? So now, taking a point from here, that when we embark on research, all right, we ask ourselves this question from the day we start writing the proposal, from the day we go and discuss the first time when we are discussing with the proposed supervisor, because normally students will go and discuss with the lecturer, or sometimes some faculties, they appoint a lecturer that will be a tentative what you call supervisor. So from that very point, we are supposed to look into this this perspective, that whether our research is becoming a solution for a real problem. You see, Imam Mawardi, he became famous and he became relevant because his works were solving the issue of his time, to the extent that they gave him special position, and special respect because his work is the work of the day. So this is what we are supposed to do. Our research, our supervision process, supervises, everyone's research should be talking about or solving a real issue, right? So you can see, you can relate yourself. You can go and read the biography of Imam Mawardi. Actually, he wrote a book, Al-Iqna, because of which he was given a special reward, and he became famous among the courts of the Abbasid Caliph because of his work, Al-Iqna. All right, so let's go to the next slide. So before we go to the adab of knowledge, briefly we'll talk about the nobility of seeking knowledge. Right, so the Quranic ayah is there, Surah Az-Zumar, Surah number 39, verse number 9. And the ayat is, قُلْ هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ إِنَّمَا يَتَذَكَّرُ أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ. Right? And are those who know equal to those who do not know? None will be mindful of this except people of reason. Right? So now in this ayah, it is asking us that can we even compare the knowledgeable one with the non-knowledgeable? It is impossible. Right? The most noble of the things one can crave for is knowledge. Most superior of the things one can seek for is knowledge. And most beneficial of the things one can earn is knowledge. So with this standing, the value and this virtue of knowledge, drawing equivalence between the learned and the ignorant is injustice. Actually, it is zulum, because no doubt the one with the knowledge will always win. Next slide, please. Now, that is the nobility of knowledge. But to obtain knowledge, there are obstacles. And this is the thing which we need to, think of and be careful of, especially the supervisors and the supervisees. All right. So there are two types of obstacles. So there are two types of obstacles. One is the internal obstacle and another is external obstacle, right? So students have to be careful. Anyone who is seeking knowledge, they have to be careful about these two types of obstacles, right? So if we really want to obtain knowledge, we want to excel in knowledge, we need to be careful of these two types of obstacles. So number one, obstacles within the seeker of the knowledge. So this is inside us, inside the students, inside the one who is trying to seek knowledge. Takabbur, pride, laziness, lack of interest, no commitment, impatience, ill intention. Sometimes people's intention is wrong to obtain knowledge, to become scholar. Right? So no commitment. So these are all obstacles which are internal, which is found inside the knowledge seeker, right? And these these elements, they become obstacle, and then it becomes very difficult for one to learn, one to obtain knowledge. Especially the first one, takabbur, is a big sickness, right? Because you see, people are open to learning OTL, if they are humble. Right? If they are full of pride, then they are CTL, close to learning. CTL, closed to learning. They don't want to learn because they only have a pre-made judgment, what do you call, assumed ideas in their mind, and they think that that's it. That is what is right. All others are wrong. Okay, so this is one type of obstacle. Second type of obstacle, which is born out of external elements. This is not inside the student, but these elements are outside. It is in the environment or in a situation, circumstances. All right. For example, financial restraint, not enough money to further knowledge. All right. Or certain types of books are needed, or certain types of facilities are needed, but that student doesn't have that type of financial capacity. All right. Distance. Sometimes the place of learning is very far and one cannot travel that far to learn, right? Similarly, new pedagogy methods. This is also an what do you call obstacle, which is external obstacle. Of course, it's not the mistake of the student, but might be the new pedagogy method which is used in the modern classroom. Might be the student is not familiar with it or is not comfortable with it. All right. Uh, New classroom cultures. This is also an obstacle. New classroom culture is also an obstacle. Sometimes people are used to a certain, they're comfortable with a certain type of classroom culture, but then when they come into a modern learning system, they are not comfortable with it. Because, for example, many people until now, in COVID-19, we had to go on into a hybrid system in IIUM, where we were mixing two systems of teaching, online and also what do you call face to face, right? But some students could not cope up with it. It was difficult for them, right? So these are examples. There are many. I'm not going to discuss all, and my purpose here is not directly talking about the obstacles, but I'm actually trying to tie a cue that why we are talking about adab today. The adab, the ethical axioms of learning. So the inner obstacles of learning are directly related to the morality of the learners, whereas the external obstacles are related to the modern culture of learning. Imam Mawardi's Adab of learning provides solutions to overcome these obstacles, right? So that's why we need to look into some of his ethical axioms, all right? And I am not going into the definition of the term Adab today because it will take a lot of time. But if you go, you can go to our library and you can either look into this book, Knowledge and Civilization in Islam. It is a textbook published by Triple IT. There is a chapter there by myself on ethical axioms of learning. You can see the definition of adab there as well. And my PhD thesis also online in IIUM. There I have talked about thoroughly about the term adab. What is the difference between the adab, asal, usul, and akhlaq, etiquette, slight difference. You can go and read there. So Imam Mawardi's ethical axioms, the adab of learning, when he wrote Adabul Dunya wa Deen, he has 5 chapters in it. His second chapter is on adab of learning. Okay, so so let's go through some of. I'm only selecting 6. There are many he discussed. There are many adab of learning, but I'm only discussing 6 today, which is actually in a way related to supervision, to supervises. So number 1, adab number 1, mastering essentials of a discipline. All right. So, and I'll also, the red one is the problem. The one in the red text is problem, that actually what is the problem and how Imam Mawardi's discussion can provide solution to it. So, so you can see excess in quotation mark. This is the biggest problem today. Everyone have access to internet. everyone have access to information. Anything they want to know, anything they want to learn, they go to the internet, so they have access. So that's why I'm writing this word in quotation marks, right? So access to online material without any barrier. For some people, this is an opportunity, all right? But some people, they also fall into traps, right? So no distinction between introductory and advanced level, because when one is referring to an internet source, the internet source normally will not tell the student that the information, the knowledge they are reading there, is it on an introductory level or advanced level. So sometimes they end up reading things on an advanced level, and yet they do not know anything about the foundation. So this is the problem of internet. We call Google Sheikh. Google Sheikh. The problem of Google Sheikh is this: the Google Sheikh just gives the information, but doesn't tell the student that what is A, what is B, which is the foundation, which one is the advanced level, which one is the intermediate level. They do not tell this, right? So sometimes students, without even having a foundation, they are going and reading things which are on advanced level, all right, and they end up messing up things, right? So this is a problem. Readers indulge themselves in reading according to their desire. Dangers of misunderstanding subject matters, confidence in matters which may not be the end of a subject. Sometimes they are just looking at a foundation level, and they know, they learn the foundation through internet, and then they start to call themselves scholars, and they have extra confidence that they do not need to read anymore. This is another problem when people are learning from internet. Giving importance to mundane topics, decreased interest in teacher-centered classes. You see, this is a big problem now, that now because we have access to internet and we can get all the things on internet, now people don't want to go to a teacher-centered classroom. People don't want to go and learn with a teacher in a classroom. They don't want to go face to face, because they think that they have enough information, enough things are available on internet, so no need to have a sheikh. So this is another issue nowadays. So what does Imam Mawardi say about this? Right. So Imam Mawardi, right? Just imagine, Imam Mawardi is writing this book in 450 Hijri. He died. That means he have written, might be, let's say, even 10 years before he died. All right. In that century, he wrote this book. So he is writing, know that for the knowledge are beginnings, awail, conducting to its ends, awakhir. Always the awail, the starting of a knowledge, will lead us to the awakhir. Introductions attaining to its essence, haqa'iq. We need muqaddima before we go into haqa'iq, right? Thus the seeker of knowledge should commence with his beginnings in order to reach to its end, and start with his introductions to arrive to its essence, to its hakika. He should not seek for the end before beginning, or the essence before the introduction. Otherwise, he will not descend. Fala yudrik, fala idrak. There is a level in knowledge which is known as idrak, where we understand things in a deeper level. If he doesn't follow this tartib, this arrangement of learning muqaddima, foundation first before going to the higher level, then his capability of idrak will be weak, and all right, and then he will not be acquainted, la yarif, marifa, he won't be able to achieve marifa. This is because a building without foundation cannot be built, and fruit without a tree cannot be ripped. Right. So this is now quickly touching about writing thesis. Right. So the supervisor is supposed to figure out, when a student wants to write on a topic, does that student know the awail, the foundation of that subject or not? The supervisor is supposed to guide the student to go and read certain type of muqaddima, certain type of awail, so that that student can really deal with that topic on a master's and PhD level, right? So this is very important. All right, let's go to next adab number 2. Adulation and humility. Now this is two types of character we have in the students. And the problem is unjustified flattering in students. Give them overconfidence. You see, sometimes students, of course, it's good that we treat our students like scholars in the university. When they are doing masters, then they are doing PhD, because they have already done undergraduate, they have done BA, all right? So it's good, all right? So, but how much to flatter and how much not to flatter, all right? So these two character in the student have to be balanced, the flattering and the humbleness, the humility. So Imam Mawardi, he wrote that the knowledge seeker in his learning state should possess adulation and humility, both. There should be a level of rewarding, right? That when the student does well, we adulate, we flatter, is good. But at the same time, there should be a level of humility and tawadu as well. If he uses the later two, he will obtain, and if he abandons the two, he will be bereaved, he will be deprived from knowledge. This is because adulating the knowledgeable demonstrate his strong grasp of knowledge. When the student does well, for example, when we ask our student to present and they present well, then that student deserves the flattering. We need to provide certificate of appreciation. We need to provide reward, all right, some kind of reward. We need to provide that. So that is going to show that that student is having a strong grasp of the knowledge. On the other side, humility is the reason for perpetuation of patience. You see, there is always difficulty in obtaining knowledge. And only if a student is humble, he will have sabr to tolerate. If he will not have humility, he will not have the sabr to tolerate. So you can read that, you can see there the saying of Prophet ﷺ said, it is not the characteristics of the faithful to flatter except in seeking knowledge. We cannot flatter for anything else. If we have a good house, we have a good car, we cannot flatter as a Muslim. But when Allah gives knowledge, we can flatter for that, right? So that is the exception to the rule. And then Abdullah ibn Abbas said, I humbled myself as a student and I became respectful and sought for my knowledge. So Abdullah ibn Abbas, we know he is the cousin, but he was very young when he went to learn from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he humbled himself, and that humbleness gave him respect, and later he became the Ra'isul Mufassirin. Then that whenever there is conflict in the issue of tafsir in Islam, we are going to always rely on what does Abdullah ibn Abbas have to say, right? Mullah Ali Qari quoted Mujahid. He said, a proud and a shy person cannot seek knowledge. A proud and a shy, someone who is too much proud, extra confidence, he cannot learn. Someone is too shy, always shy, he doesn't want to open his mouth, he is very shy to go and discuss and to learn, to sit in a circle, very shy. Even this type of person won't be able to learn. Umar ibn Khattab who said, the one who humbles himself will deepen his knowledge, right? The one who humble, man rakka dakka, the one who humbles himself will deepen his knowledge. So what we see here is that humility is not only a key for learning, but a key for reaching the depths of knowledge, right? So this is very important on the student's part. Supervisors, you are always advised that when you deal with your teachers, adab number 3 is coming soon, you should be always full of humility, not only in relation to your supervisor, but to the entire university and to the entire learning process. You need to have humility, right? Okay, let's number 3, teacher-student relationship. This is very important. Modern education has reduced the role of teacher to a mere facilitator or supervisor, or sometimes to a senior colleague. The way we treat our supervisor nowadays, this is because of modern world. We do not see our teacher as our murabbi. We do not see our teacher as our role model. Right? We treat our teacher like he's just our friend. Okay, his role in the classroom, we no longer see the teacher to that he is someone to teach in the class. We only see that he's only there to facilitate, and we have our own knowledge. He will just guide us. This is the attitude of the students nowadays. The internet access supports the assumption that knowledge can be obtained without a teacher, which is a problem nowadays. In Islam, teacher is not just a facilitator, but a guide to goodness and a role model. Right? So teacher has a role. So supervises your relationship with your supervisor is a relationship of a teacher and student. Supervisor is not your colleague. Supervisor is not your friend. Is not your buddy. Right? We should have this type of adab. So Al-Mawardi writes, the student should follow the scholars in their good characters, compare themselves with their entire conducts, so the student becomes amicable to them and model on their characters and avoid what they oppose. The Prophet ﷺ said, the best of your youths are the ones who imitate your elders, and the worst of your elderly are the ones who imitate your youths. Right? We have to be very careful in this. Sometimes our supervisors, they want to become like the young supervisors. No, do not reverse this process of in the learning, in the world of knowledge, in the world of ilm. All right, the elders, the supervisors, you are the role model. The young supervisors are supposed to imitate you, so they become respectful, not the other way around. All right, that supervisors are now very tired and fed up of their life, and they want to behave like the young ones. No, we cannot do that. So we can contemplate on the hadith of the Prophet here, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, next one. Other number 4, inquiry of knowledge. And this is where students who are involved writing RQR, RQ, research questions. This is related to that also, right? So what is the problem? The fitrah of making inquiry for knowledge is lost. You see, when we are children, we always ask, constantly we ask, what is this? What is that? Why it is like this? So it is a fitrah, that inquiry. There is a type of doubt. We want to overcome that doubt by excessive inquiry. That is the fitrah. But somehow we lose this fitrah as we grow up. Right? Fear of harassment or fear of blind imitation, and there are many other reasons. And our supervisors, they know, and especially our lecturers, that we have this big challenge, right? That in IIUM, we have this problem of our young undergraduate students, they don't ask questions. They are very shy. They feel it is not adab to ask the teacher. We need to change this culture. This is not the fitrah. The fitrah is to ask questions. All right? So we need to get our students back on the fitrah, because we always talk about fitrah. Islam is deen fitrah. All right? If we want to become good scholars, we need to go back to fitrah. We need to have the inquisitive and inquiry, full of inquiries. Right? All right. So al-Mawardi, he wrote, excessive question about doubtful matters is not harassment. Right? Sometimes people think, oh, I will make my teacher tired, or I will make my teacher angry, I'm asking too much question. No, this is not. As far as you are not clear about an issue, you go and ask your supervisor. If your supervisor doesn't want to answer, you complain to the dean that your supervisor is not entertaining your questions, because they are paid by the university to answer your questions. All right? All right. So Excessive question about doubtful matters is not harassment, and accepting what is right in itself is not blind imitation. This is very important point. When something is right, it is based on authority. Following that solution is not blind imitation. We are supposed to follow that. Blind imitation will happen when something someone is following is not based on authoritative decision, or it is wrong. Then it is blind imitation. Right? All right. The Prophet ﷺ is reported saying, the knowledge is treasure and its key is question. Miftahul ilm as-su'al. So ask. Ask. He's asking us to ask. May Allah be merciful with you. Rahimakumullah. Prophet ﷺ is giving dua to the one who are asking question till Qiyamah. Whoever is going to inquire, make inquiry, you are going to be part of this dua of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? So this is Jum'ah. This is Jum'ah. You have to be part of this dua. All right. So when you are writing your research questions, you are part of this dua. You see? So even though you are writing your thesis about engineering, don't worry about that. You are making inquiry. You have research questions. You are part of this dua of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? And then he said, indeed, in seeking knowledge, three parties are rewarded. Three groups of people are rewarded when you are seeking knowledge. The narrator, the listener, and the acquirer. Three groups of people will get reward. All right, the one who is narrating, the one who is listening, and the one who is acquiring, the one who came to ask. All right, and the Prophet ﷺ said, why don't they ask? He is concerned. Why don't they ask when they do not know? When there is no ilm, why are they quiet? They are not. Why they are so? So you can see again, because see, all the teaching of the Prophet ﷺ will be according to fitrah. Deen is fitrah. The teaching of the Prophet ﷺ is fitrah as well. So he is asking us to reverse this bad habit. Go back to fitrah. We have to ask. If we do not have knowledge of something, we need to find out. We need to do inquiry. Indeed, the remedy for the feebleness is inquiry. Hence, he enjoined and prompt to ask. Ibn Abbas was asked. Ibn Abbas, the Raisul Mufassirin, the famous Sahabi, he was asked, with what you attain this knowledge? Where did this knowledge come from? He said, with an inquisitive tongue. A tongue which is always asking. Inquisitive tongue, the tongue which is always asking the Prophet ﷺ, what is this? What does this verse mean? What does this issue mean? He's always asking. And discerning heart, the heart which is ready to receive. If these two things are there in the student, so you will become knowledgeable. Nafi ibn Umar reported the Prophet saying, good question is the half knowledge. This is the challenge, the supervisors and the supervisees. This is the challenge. How good is your research question? And can you befit what Nafi ibn Umar is reporting? Good question is half of knowledge. If your research, when you are starting your research, if your research is based on good question, you people are from engineering, you are the best in the IUM to find out which question is the best question. You have the skills for it, right? So your best question, already you have the half of the knowledge, right? Okay, let's go to adab number 5. Understanding and conceptualizing. This is another issue. Sometimes students are so much busy only memorizing, collecting information, collecting data. All right, we have so many theses sitting there in IUM, in the library, and other universities as well. Are these collection of information understood, and are these conceptualized already or not? All right. So al-Mawardi, he wrote, sometimes students of science is concerned about memorizing without conceiving and understanding the words, to the extent that he becomes memorizer of the words and the custodian of reciting the words while not perceiving and absorbing what the words comprise of. He narrates the words without any reflection and informs without any experience. He is thus a resemblance of a book which does not defend any doubt nor support any argument. All right? Is our thesis like this? Look at the last line of Imam Mawardi. He is thus a resemblance of a book which does not defend any doubt nor support any argument. Supervisor, supervisee, are you both working on a research which is not doing this, neither defending any doubt or neither supporting any argument? It's just collection of data and there's a little bit analysis here and there, very cosmetic, just so that the student can graduate and get masters and PhD. All right, this is not the purpose of knowledge, right? We want our student to understand and conceptualize all those data which we are working on. It is related to the Prophet saying, the zeal of the fools is to narrate, while the zeal of the scholars is to reflect. This is very hard. Sometimes words of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ can be harsh. All right, it's not always only sweet talking. Sometimes he also what you call scolds us, right? He admonishes us so that we learn, we are careful. So what does he say here? The zeal of the fools is to narrate. The Arabic is himmatu sufaha annahu qal sallallahu alaihi wasallam, himmatu sufaha ar-riwaya wa himmatul ulama ar-ri'aya. The zeal of the fools is to narrate, while the zeal of the scholars is to reflect. Ri'aya is when they ponder and reflect on the words. That is ri'aya. All right, they're discussing, they're understanding that, and the narrators, they are just memorizing the sentences. All right. So Ibn Mas'ud said, be protectors of the knowledge and do not be its mere reporters. The ones who does and the ones who does not consider. All right. So this is another. Kunu lil ilmi ru'atan. Kunu lil ilmi ru'atun. All right. Become the protectors of the knowledge, who contemplate, who reflect on the knowledge. Wala takunu lahu ruwatan. Do not just become the narrators only who are just narrating the sentences and words. Okay. So this is here again, supervisor, supervisee. You are supposed to take your level of understanding, your discussion to that level, all right? Sometimes our thesis is very cosmetic. Same thing. Introduction to a scholar. We are writing about his biography. No, something have to be different. All right. We need to go into another level of understanding. You have to force, the supervisors have to force the students, retain them. Do not just accept their chapter like that. Make sure that they have understood the basis of the knowledge. Retain them. Tell them, write again. All right. Work again. Our marhum Professor Dr. Said Ajmal used to say, and I always repeat that, burn midnight oil. Burn midnight oil. If we want to obtain knowledge, we want to go deep, you have to wake up late, you have to read, you have to do your research and understand and discuss. So burn midnight oil, right? Okay, let's go to next one. Other number 6, writing. This is the last one. All right. So then after this we'll be done, inshallah. Knowledge is learnt, contemplated and memorized, but not consolidated. See, this is the problem now. Some of our students, they don't even come into only cosmetic one paper publication requirement, that's it. But are they on this malaka of writing? You know the term malaka? All right, our marhum Ustad al-Muhammadi used to use this word a lot. The malaka, the ubur, when you obtain the ubur of something, the experience of something. So when we are getting students to write thesis and writing research papers, this should not be cosmetic. It has to go to that level where they start to enjoy, because writing will make their knowledge solid, right? So the missing ingredient is writing. We are not forcing them to write. You see, to discuss something is easy, but to put it into writing is another set of challenge. It's not easy, right? So we need to put our supervisors on this challenge. They present very well. They can talk about a topic very well, but they write about it thoroughly, right? So Mawardi wrote, sometimes the students of science depend only on their memory and reflection. They leave out the capturing of the sciences in their books on the basis of trusting that which is in their minds. They trust their memory. That is good to trust on their memory, but they need to capture it in their pages as well. They have to write it down. This is a mistake originating from them because doubt transgresses and forgetfulness is accidental, right? Anas ibn Malik reported the Prophet ﷺ saying, capture the knowledge by writing it down. This is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, subhanallah. Capture the knowledge, how? By writing it down. All right? Qayyidul ilma bil kitab. Qayyidul ilma bil kitab. All right. Use your hand, meaning you write it down, so when you forget, you can refer to what you have written. So we have to do this. Use your hand, meaning you write it down, so when you forget, you can refer to it, refer to what you have written. Al-Khalil ibn Ahmad said, make what is in the books your capital and your expenditure of what is in your heart. This is very interesting. It's a saying, Ij'al ma fil kutub ra's al-mal. What is in the book, you make it your capital. Rasul mal. When you start a business, you need to have a capital. All right. So rasul mal. So what is the information in your book? That is your rasul mal, your capital. All right. And then wama fil qalb nafaqa. And what is in your heart? That is the nafqa which you give to people. Right. All right. So Ibn Khaldun, this is last one, and then we will just one more slide and we are done. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you tired here. All right, my dear supervisors, don't worry. All right. So Ibn Khaldun, another interesting giant. Subhanallah. Allah has given us all these great scholars. Wallahi, we are not reading and benefiting from them. So Ibn Khaldun died in 808 Hijri, and he wrote in his Muqaddimah, and if you do not know Arabic, you can go to the Rosenthal's translation, volume 1, page 715. All right, and he writes there, he described writing as a form of communication. Writing is a communication, he says. Oral communication, when we talk to each other, this is oral communication between individuals and groups can only take place if they meet. If we do not meet, we cannot have a oral communication, right? Non-oral communication or communication through written words can take place even if the parties does not meet or are not in the same era. Meaning, this is where thoughts and ideas of one generation through books is conveyed to next generation. You see, this is what Ibn Khaldun is saying. Writing is communication. Communication of ideas of one generation to another. They cannot meet physically because they cannot survive in same era, different time period. But knowledge, books can convey their ideas to the next generation. So, my dear students, supervisors, supervisees, do not take your research, your writing lightly. Whatever you are writing is somehow, somewhere, someone after 50 years, 60 years is going to pick up and read. So please make sure you are not putting something wrong. All right, you are responsible, and you are writing, putting the right thing. Last slide. This is where I will capture everything, and then we are done, inshallah. You see, supervisor, supervisee, research. Three things are here, and I will quickly touch that, and then we are done. Supervisor and supervisee of an Islamic tertiary institution has an extra set of guidelines, either adding onto the existing guidelines set by conventional institutions of learning or bending them. You see, like for example, if you go to any other university, all the university will have guideline to supervise, to write, to do research. But when you are in this university, in Islamic university, or in any other Islamic institution, you need to have another set of guidelines, right? What does responsible research and innovation for supervisors and supervisees of International Islamic University mean? For us, when we say responsible research, responsible innovation, it is totally different from other universities. Okay, so what should we do? The solution is there in three different lines there. Let's look at the first one. Supervisor in Islamic University is a murabbi. You are not a facilitator. You are a murabbi, and you are a role model who is guided by the khair. I can see there the big alphabet, khair, Khayr. What does it mean? Khilafa, amana, ikra, and rahmatan lil alameen. This is our RIUM's leading the way. It is even in our song, in RIUM song, right? The cardinal principles of leadership. RIUM's leading the way book and 40 hadiths on leading the way should be read together to understand this. So quickly, just as a supervisor, are you doing the job of a khalifa or not? Are you preparing a khalifa or not? Everyone is khalifa to spread justice, to aid life. Is your research going to solve issues or not? This is coming under khilafa. Amana, the content of our research, is it true or false, or we are just getting wrong information and not telling people? All right. Ikra, knowledge, rahmatan lil alameen. Is our research going to be mercy for the world, for the humankind, for the mankind? All right. So all this have to be understood. So supervisor is a murabbi who is guided by this khair, the concept of khair of RIUM. And then supervisee has to overcome internal and external obstacles of obtaining knowledge in order to excel in their responsible research and innovation. All those 6 things which we have discussed today, all those 6 adab is going to help us to overcome the internal and external obstacles of obtaining knowledge. Right? Conduct of the supervisee should be within the dictates of Adabul Ilm. All right? We should always be within the Adabul Ilm to obtain knowledge. And this is Imam Mawardi is only one. You have many other books which is talking about Adabul Ilm. You can always refer to it. Imam Nawawi has done work on it, and Imam Ghazali has done work on it. Many of the scholars have talked about Adabul Ilm, the ethics of obtaining knowledge. As a Muslim, we are supposed to be very careful about this. And the last one, research has to be measured against the Maqasid Sharia imbued SDGs. All right, RIUM, our research, our activities is not only SDG, sustainable goals. No, It is Maqasid Sharia imbued SDG. Whatever SDG is coming within the rubric of Maqasid Sharia, that means we accept it. And what is not coming within the rubric of Maqasid Sharia, we do not consider it as SDG. This is very clear for us. So, Maqasid Sharia, the Daruriyat Khamsa. Is your research preserving life, preserving property, preserving environment, right? Preserving dignity, preserving family institution? Where does your research fit in? All right. A supervisor, supervisee, from the proposal level, you have to be very clear. If your research is not saving one of the Daruriyat Khamsa is only for us to understand, but as scholars, there are many Daruriyat. There are many Daruriyat. You can include, like I said, dignity, and there are many other. All right. So you have to see your research, is it saving one of these maqasid or not? If not, that means something is wrong with your research or our research. All right. So these are like it needs a longer type of session. All right, but this is, we're just trying to put everything into a small 1 hour session. So I hope I have done the justice, and with this I end. Wa akhri dawana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Barakallah feek. Yeah, we actually we enjoy the talk, that we don't disturb, we just allow it to continue. It's the same like that, the kind of adab also, because it's really joyful and knowledgeable and direct to the point. So we open the session for maybe 10 minutes. If anyone have a question, can directly open your, unmute your microphone and talk directly, or write in the chat box, whatever you like. It's open now for Q&A session, please. Or any additional, any comments, you are also welcome. Anyone? Yes, please. Someone write in the chat box something, maybe. Let us see. There is a question in the chat box. Can you see from, or this query is from Anis?
Okay. Assalamualaikum, doctor. The trend of grade on time, GOT, nowadays sometimes leads to impatience. What is Dr. Farid's comment on this phenomenon? Allah Akbar. All right. Yeah.
Another lecture.
Yeah, everyone is trying to, because like if the purpose of GOT is only to increase the stars, to report to higher authority, to show that how the university is doing, that means we did not understand the Maqasid Sharia. Right? Because you see, we are not only supposed to save the tangible outcome, but the intangible outcome as well. And engineering faculty, and especially in heart, is very familiar with this, because your Sheikh Pro was about this. Remember that project, the Sheikh Pro project, was about not only to measure the tangible, what do you call it, the activity and the effort of the university, and the activities of the university, but also to measure the intangible. All right, and intangible, it also the quality of the student. What's the use if we rush and make the student complete the thesis, but yet that student is not a scholar yet? He or she is going to carry that name, graduate of RIUM. All right, and then we are going to have all these lies saying he's the Khalifa, he's the role model. Then in that case, this is not justice. This is zulum, actually. All right. So yes, there are some students who are good, who has that capacity, whom we can rush, and they can complete on time, and at the same time they can also manage quality. In that case, by all means go for it. But if the student is weak, he needs time, she needs time, in that case the supervisor is supposed to work on the weakness of the student so that the student becomes a good scholar. I hope I have answered it. This is how I see it. Right.
Okay, okay, good. If there is no one asking, I have something. Because today is Friday, you used to recite Surah Al-Kahf. Then in that one, there is a way of learning about Nabi Musa and that عنده علم من الكتاب. They ask him, لا تسألني عن شيء حتى أحدث لك منه ذكرى. That's a teacher and a student. This ask the student, don't ask, don't argue, don't ask me. It goes against for a while. Then the teacher explained. Can you put some explanation on that one?
No, because there the issue was, you see, Musa alayhi salam is someone who has the ilm sharia, and Khidr is someone who has the ilm ladunni, different type of ilm, which normally is against the external, what do you call the qawaneen of the world. All right, so that's the reason why, and the purpose there, because there I didn't discuss here. Imam Mawardi also collects two types of hadith on question. Uh, those type of questions which are only idle questions, which will not lead to any benefit, then there are set of hadiths of the Prophet ﷺ which is actually prohibiting us to ask question. So in if we read Adabul Ilm of Imam Mawardi, he collects these two types of hadiths actually. One which is encouraging us to ask, and on the other, he is also saying those people who are asking idle questions, all right, to confuse people, then that type of question should not be asked in that case. But here in the case of Musa alayhi salam and Khidr, the purpose was actually to teach us that there is always fawqa di kulli ilmin alim. The idea to teach us was this there, that over every knowledgeable there is someone who knows more, and Musa alayhi salam's claim that he is most knowledgeable, so Allah was wanted to teach him that there is no someone else there who has a knowledge which even the prophet doesn't have. So that was in that context that the communication and the conversation is going on.
Okay, good, good. To avoid the jidal, no jidal.
Yes.
No. Good, good. Is there any more questions from the audience, please? If you are unable to unmute, just write in the chat box. Anyway, it's already 11 o'clock and past 11 o'clock. If no more questions, we would like to end the session and give just one last chance if someone. We don't miss anyone. Query, any comments? Okay, if there's no more questions, we actually thank our brother of Mohammed Farid Al-Fijawi, inshallah, for this informative knowledge. I hope to have it. I think it's already recorded, inshallah, for everyone from in-heart, from IUM to get have access to this informative talk, informative lecture, inshallah. And we hope also everyone to go back to the library and check these kind of books. And this is the beginning. It's not the beginning of the knowledge. It's not the whole thing. We will not be scholars for having only this small thing. Yeah? That's the advice of the speaker today also. Take it and just go deeper to have to be good student or good supervisor, following this kind of scholars advice, inshallah. And thank you very much for this thing. Maybe we just say Jazakallahu khairan because we don't have any gift, we don't have it to be online.
The dua is enough.
Alhamdulillah.
The dua is enough.
Inshallah, Jazakallah kulla khair. Inshallah, do our dua to you. Inshallah, we end the session with tasbih kafara and surah al-asr. Inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر سبحانك اللهم بحمدك لا إله إلا أنت وحدك لا شريك لك نستغفرك ونتوب إليك جزاكم الله خيرا وأحسن الله الجزاء إن شاء الله بارك الله فيكم وشكرا جميعا. Thank you very much.
مع السلامة إن شاء الله.